All right, welcome to the Achilles Connect June edition. June is not only the sixth month of the year, but is also the month filled with lots of hope and lots of possibility. Because here at Achilles, we love hope. But more importantly, hope is nothing if it weren't for possibility. And so we also love possibility. And that's the tie-in to the June 29th 4 miler race that we have in Central Park going on. Hopefully, you're in New York City for that day, and that's our home possibility. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That is number four on our talking points. We have a couple things to touch on before then. As usual, Chandler's here. She'll feed all the questions to me. So if you have any questions at any point, just drop them in the chat. And we'll get that crack-a-lacking. We'll run through these updates first, and then we can talk questions. And it can be as short or as long as we all make of it together. And so we will see what happens. Um, First thing is today, as we're recording this, is Thursday, right? Because the Achilles Connect, it happens every month, usually on the first Thursday of each month. Tomorrow, Friday, is the show Sped Kid. And so hopefully you have your tickets. Hopefully you're signed up to come. I've seen this show actually twice before. Once a year ago at a film festival thing here in the city, and then for the second time I saw it actually in Telluride. And now I'm going to see it for the third time tomorrow. And it basically tells the story of Adam Lynn. He's a blind homie. He's part of the Tri team. He's been part of Achilles for years, and it kind of talks about how he lost his vision in Boston growing up. And it's called Sped Kid, his special ed kid, right? He rode the special ed, the short bus to school. And there is breakdancing in the show. The audience members do not actually have to break dance. Thank you very much. You're welcome. But yeah, that'll be really fun. And that's tomorrow evening. It is not too late to get tickets. You could 100% come. Second thing is Saturday, we have our June tandem training. And so tandem biking's right. What I've said at the workouts is why run when we can roll? And why roll alone if we can roll in tandem with each other? And therefore, tandem biking is really, really fun. Basically, if you don't know, it's two people on a bike, one in front of the other, not side by side. Um, and it's still two wheels. And you basically the sighted guide or pilot rides in the front. The blind athlete or athlete with a TBI or basically any other type of ambulatory athlete that rides an upright bike but can't necessarily navigate rides in the back. And that's how we pedal, pedal, pedal. I think it's really fun tandem biking myself personally because I remember the first time that I realized that I could use the back of my pilot's jersey pockets as my personal trash cans. That was really, really fun. I was riding with this guy named Wes, and I think we were doing a half Ironman triathlon in Victoria, Canada. That was one of those like, we should do a race this weekend. Huh, there's a race in Victoria, Canada. We should go support our friend who's also doing that race. Let's buy plane tickets tomorrow and fly to Toronto and sleep overnight in the airport and then fly to Victoria and do this thing. That was kind of how that unfolded. But we were doing the bike portion of the triathlon, and 56 miles, you eat more than gels, right? You usually. And so I had all these wrappers that I was trying to, fiddle with in my own pockets and stuff of bars and shoes and things like that. And then I was like, wait a second. Wes's pockets are right in front of my face. I could just shove all of my trash into his pockets. So I started doing that, and he got really annoyed about it, but he couldn't do anything about it because he was in front steering the bike and I was behind just shoving trash in his pockets, and it was great. Uh, there's a thing that happens in endurance sports, especially if you're doing like really long distances, like Ironman distance or ultra distance, where your gut just sort of rebels against you and it makes you not want to consume calories at all. Um, so that's a thing that happens. And obviously, you want to fight against that, right? Because not consuming calories while you're racing an Ironman is not a good idea. Um, and get the pleasure that I get from shoving trash in my guide's pockets makes me want to eat things and therefore have trash to shove in those pockets. So whatever trick works, right? Some people count lamp poles to like motivate themselves to run. Some people, look at whatever, they count red cars or something. I count the amount of trash that I get to shove in my guide's pockets. So hopefully you as a brand, I'm realizing like I'm supposed to be I'm realizing that I'm supposed to be like selling tandem biking to y'all and maybe having athletes shove trash in your pockets and not doing it. But we all have our love languages, and sometimes shoving trash in pockets is a love language. So, point being, you should sign up for tandem bike training. It is not me leading that training, by the way. So again, no trash. But that's happening Saturday morning at the boathouse in Central Park. No prior cycling experience needed. Uh, well, actually, yeah, you should probably know how to ride a bike, but no prior tandem pilot experience needed. Just come, show up. We'll handle the rest in terms of training and teaching what you have to do. It's at 8:30. So if you want to get settled, you can come a little earlier if you want, but just show up at 8:30 and we will handle the rest. So that's our Saturday tandem bike training. Third thing is we have a thing that's happening. It's on November. Oh no, it's on November. It's on June 29th. It's called Hope and Possibility. I introed with that. And it is our signature 4 mile race. But the impetus for this topic point is we've had quite a lot of people join us for the first time. Um, and they're like, what is hope and possibility? What happens that day? Where do I leave my canes? Like, where do I tie my dog up? What happens after the race? All those questions. And so I figured we're going to do a brief overview of what that day on June 29th will look like. Just touch on a couple things. Obviously, if you have any more questions or in-depth questions, drop them in the chat. But this is kind of the main stuff that maybe you wouldn't have thought to ask. So June 29th, Sunday. Ideally, everyone is paired off and everything before then, right? So athletes are registered, they request guides through Roadrunners, guides get sent guide bib links from the athlete with disability team. They register, you go to the run center and you pick up your bib along with athletes. Like that's just like any other race, right? The meetup point on that Sunday morning is 72nd and 5th Avenue. That's where we set up our little, powwow area, especially for people who maybe have their own bib, but maybe want to find some fun people to run with or whatever, right? If you are an athlete or a guide and you already know who you're running with and you don't need anyone or anything else, you do not need to show up to that spot. But anyone who wants to be put with people or whatever, that's where you show up. 72nd and 5th. We'll be in touch with the time closer to the date, but probably around 7:15, 7:30. Um, from there, we have the Achilles tent at the band shell. That's where we have all of our activations and stuff in the center of the lower end of the park. Um, People will be available at 72nd and 5th to kind of give you this info as well. But basically, that's where the Achilles tent will be. And that's where you can leave canes and crutches and whatever other things that you might have. That is also where equipment is handled. And if you require equipment, get in touch. Obviously, we have a ton of equipment. We're talking racing wheelchairs, hand cycles, recumbents, things like that. And from then, you file over to the start area. We get treated to our wonderful start sequence, cadence, all that stuff, national anthem. People make speeches. Everyone's feeling really hopeful and like there's lots of possibility in the air. And then you run the 4 miles. And the 4 miles basically takes you up the East Drive, across 102, down on the west side, and you finish right in front or near Tavern on the Green, which is similar to where the marathon and the New York City half finished. And then from there, it is encouraged that all Achilles members return to the band shell, right? So that you can collect any items that you may have left. There are a couple little activations and tents and things. Can't really say what they are right now, but it'll be a surprise. You could show up. There might be consumable items, edible items. There'll be some activities and just general having fun with your Achilles family. So that's the overview of that. Um, Chandler, any questions so far? Who has that? Venice. There is not a formal brunch, but there might be some consumables at the men's shell. Okay. All right. All right. If there are no more hope and possibility related questions, and if you're still typing, you can still type it out, send it in. I got one last point to touch on, and this is air quality stuff. And so the backstory on this is last year, question mark. I feel like it was last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago, but maybe it was last year. Um, New Yorkers typically don't experience wildfire fumes, right? Like for a lot of people who live in Manhattan and New York City, greater and surrounding areas, there's not a lot of wildfire exposure. And so we had on the AQI, is it AQI? Air quality, yeah, AQI, air quality index. It was like 250 or something, and it was a Tuesday evening workout. But no one really got that it was not good to run outside. And so I remember I was leading a guide training run and we were running around. And it was like, I mean, I'm clearly blind, so I don't see the colors, but I could have told you that it felt really orange outside, right? Like it smelled like you basically put your head in a barbecue grill and all the char and stuff off the grill was like gumming up into your respiratory system. Like it was bleak, the air was thick, and it was very strong. And literally the quality was like 250. And like we 100% should not have been out there. But again, no one had experienced anything like that before. Fast forward now to today, there are some areas of Achilles USA that are needing to shut down workouts because air quality is in the high 100s, closing in at 200. And so we actually have some chapters that who have, canceled workouts this week because the air quality index of 200 is not safe. Here in New York City, it's not that bad yet, right? Like today it's 65, 67, which is like higher than it normally is, but it's not like crazy dangerous, right? So I guess the point is be aware that this is a thing that's going to be happening. I actually have a few homies that work on wildland wildfire fighting. Two of them live out in Washington State. They're getting ready for what is expected to be one of the worst wildfire seasons. In the last few decades, like that's what their fire team is telling them. On the flip side of that, we do some stuff, or I personally am connected a little bit with this other disaster relief group called Grindstone. They do more like tornado, hurricane recovery, stuff like that, less on the wildland, wildfire fighting. But even there, like, there's stuff in the mix for this summer. So just be aware of it. Again, if any workouts were to cancel, you'll hear about it through that shift, through the rosterify shift. You'll get text alerts and you get emails and all that stuff. But just be aware, right? If it's closing in on 100, we probably still won't cancel for everybody. But if you're in a population that would benefit from not heavy duty exercising at that level, then just be responsible, right? Be aware, maybe do the workout inside. And if you need tips on how to do that, obviously get with us. Um, that's kind of the main gig. Chandler, any questions? All right, that's kind of all I got. So if y'all want to holler at me some questions and stuff, we can talk about that. That's kind of the main updates of June. Mhm. Probably from visually impaired athletes. Yeah, the running workout. 100%. So while I answer this question, if you guys want to tell me if you can, I assume y'all can hear me and understand me, because if you couldn't, I would hope that you put it in the chat. But tell me, for those who have tuned in the past as well, tell me if you hear any difference today, if it's better today or worse than the past few months. So just put it in the chat for me if you can. In terms of the Saturday morning workouts, I'm assuming you're referring to the Central Park workouts, the ambulatory workouts, meaning running or walking. That is held at Engineers Gate. That is at the intersection of 90th Street and 5th Avenue. That is also where our kids meet, by the way. If you need an address for Accessoride or Uber or anything like that, we use the church that is right across the street. That is 1085 Fifth Avenue. That's also a landmark that people can use to kind of anchor. But as the driver is coming down Fifth Avenue and getting closer to the destination, a good thing, a lot of what a lot of athletes will tell their drivers is drop me off at the address, but on the park side or on the right side. And that way the driver will drop you off on the park side. You won't have to cross any streets. And then from there, if you need help finding the actual workout, if you're low vision or whatever, different athlete, hit me up, get with us. I'll give you my number. Well, you just call me when you're around and we'll come get you. Next, Chandler. Ruth, you are not registered for Health Possibility. That is totally fine. If you can just email and anyone who is not registered for Open Possibility, I should say any athlete, email NYC at AchillesInternational.org. Or if phones are better than emails, you can call the main office 212-354-0300. And all that, both of those info are on the website. I would say if you are an athlete who is registered, but you don't have guides, you should sign up in Rosterify for the Hope and Possibility race. What's full? Oh, we could change the nice, right? All right. Maybe wait a few minutes, wait some time, but you will be able to sign up in Rosterify. Um, Yeah, 3.5 minutes. But yes, if you are an athlete and you are registered, but you need a guide and you don't currently have a guide, sign up in Rosterify in the race calendar. That is, by the way, where you can see all our other races that are coming up. And if you're a guide and you want to guide, also sign up in Rosterify on the race calendar. And that's how we'll match athletes and guides. And we will most likely do that matching thing next Tuesday, which is the 10th of June. So if you're watching this in the replay, 10th of June, Tuesday is probably when we'll close that out and do the pairings and stuff like that. So, what else, Chandler? Ah, interesting. Okay, how to adjust training plans if you keep Sabbath. This is valid too if you have anything else that's kind of a fixed thing during the week. Because if you're familiar with a lot of training plans, marathon plans will typically go Monday through Saturday and it takes Sunday off. And multi-sport plans like triathlon plans will typically be written as Tuesday through Sunday and it takes Monday off. And we all have lives, right? We all have work and commitments and things like that. So maybe you can't work out. Maybe it's not a Sabbath thing, but maybe you can't do anything on a Thursday or a Friday or whatever. And you're like, how do you adjust this? It sounds really obvious, but it's something that I didn't think of for years when I first started, is you don't need to start the training plan as Sunday being the first day of the week or Monday, right? If you get a training plan that's day 1 through 6 and the seventh day is a rest day, day one could be Friday, right? Or if you keep the Sabbath, day one could be Sunday. And so day six would be Friday, the seventh day, Saturday, you would not train, right? So that's kind of a very like surface level, easy way is if you just need to rearrange your week to start on a different day. Like maybe you have stuff on Tuesday, then day one could be Wednesday, right? Again, it sounds very simple, but like I actually didn't think of that for years. Um, in the bodybuilding world, actually, it's somewhat common to have a 9 day training plan. So day 1 through 9, and it cycles back at day one. And that, I mean, that's kind of nuts, right? I mean, we're talking people whose like full-time job is training, but if day one is Monday, then day nine would be Wednesday. So then the next week, day one, it starts on Thursday, right? So like day one keeps changing literally every single week. So just a little thought. What else? Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good word. I got to get like the Joe Rogan setup where you can still hear Jamie in the background. Maybe we gotta get Chandler like a co-pilot microphone or something. That's a good word. Thank you for that input. All right. If that is all, I suppose we can end this for today. Thank you for joining again. June, what is today? June 5th? Yeah, June 5th. The next time that we will speak is the first Thursday in July, which is July 3rd. And that's actually cool because that's right before I leave for three conferences and stuff. So I can tell you about that and how to kind of help out with those and get involved. But that's for next month. So for now, have an awesome rest of your day, rest of your week, and we will catch you in the park sometime soon.